Dear Jamie, speak your mind. Here we leave no secrets behind. Lay it bare, you're not alone. In this circle, you're at home. So write it down or say it loud. There's no shame in truth unbound. Laugh or cry, just let it fly. We'll catch your tears, we'll lift you So speak your truth, don't be shy. We're all the same beneath the sky. Dear Jamie listens, no need to hide. Where stories live and hearts confide. Dear Jamie, let it show. You're among friends, you're home, you know.
Welcome to Scandalous Saturday with Dear Jamie. The one night a week we throw caution to the wind, dive headfirst into the stories that make you gasp, laugh, cringe, and wonder what in the world people are actually thinking. These are real stories from real people, anonymous confessions, shocking secrets, impossible dilemmas, and plot twists you couldn't make up if you tried. Tonight we'll read the letters, discuss the drama, and even maybe learn a thing or two along the way. We're not here to judge. Not a lot, anyway. We're here for conversation, the curiosity, and the reminder that life is often stranger than fiction. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and prepare yourself, because on Scandalous Saturday, nothing is quite ever as it seems. This is for entertainment purposes, and the very first Dear Jamie, I don't even have to read because I can say it verbatim. I got an email that says, Dear Jamie, you're not qualified to be giving advice or to lean in or even to speak on behalf of anyone else. This is for entertainment purposes only. And that is the entire purpose of this channel, to make you feel less alone if maybe this happened to you, to make you think, to provoke and invoke thought, and to, or maybe make you feel blessed that it's not you that's in these circumstances. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay. Dear Jamie, I am a 72-year-old widow. I was married to my husband for just over 40 years before the cancer took him from me. For the first few years after he passed, I couldn't imagine a life without him. I kept his side of the closet exactly as it was. I slept on my side of the bed. I celebrate his birthday still to this day. I talk to his picture more nights than I care to admit, and my children are worried about me. But I told them not to be. I wasn't lonely. I was grieving. At least that's what I thought. Over the last year, I've become friends with a man from church. At first, it was nothing more than friendly conversation after Sunday service. Then it became coffee once in a while. Then lunches, then phone calls, and before I know it, he'd become the person I look forward to seeing. Nothing physical has happened. He's never pressured me, and honestly, I don't even know if he feels the same way I do. What I do know is that when my phone rings and it's him, I smile. And then I immediately feel guilty. I loved my husband with every ounce of my heart. He was the love of my life. The idea of sharing a meal, a conversation, or even a future with another man feels like I'm somehow betraying him. To make matters worse, my children have made comments over the years about how mom and dad had a love story that could never be replaced. I know they mean it as a compliment, but now I'm worried they'll think I've forgotten their father if I tell them I've developed feelings for someone else. The truth is, I haven't forgotten him for a single day. I still miss him. I still love him. I still wish he were here. But I also find myself laughing again, looking forward to things again, and feeling something other than sadness for the first time in a decade. I never thought I would be in this position. I swore after my husband died that I would never date again, never hold another man's hand, never allow myself to care for someone else. Now I'm wondering if I've spent the last 10 years keeping a promise that my husband never asked me to make. How do I stop feeling guilty for enjoying someone else's company? And how do I explain to my children that liking or caring for someone new doesn't mean that I stopped loving their father? This is really hard to say because it's almost opposite of everything that I am and that most women are. We are selfless, not selfish. And I think that if the roles were reversed and it was you that passed away and your husband left living, you would want him to find joy and happiness and to live life and not to hold on to that. And it doesn't mean that you are looking to replace what you had with your husband. No one will ever replace it. That's 40 years of your life. That's children, that's homes, that's all of those struggles. Hopefully you never have to go through that with anyone else. And I'll even say this. Just because you are enjoying someone's company and maybe just enjoying not being lonely and having a companion and finding common ground doesn't also mean that you're necessarily in love or that you are at a place where you want to recreate a life together with someone. It's okay to find enjoyment in what you're doing. It's okay to look forward to it. It's okay to admit that. And on the contrary, I would hope that your children would see the happiness in you as well. You'll never replace a marriage of 40 years. Ever. Especially a good one. And you deserve happiness and joy. And to be selfish, even though it's not selfish in any way, to do something for you. As women, I think that we naturally care for and serve others and put others first, always and forever. I say it in my job all the time that the dog will get healthcare before most women will put their healthcare first. And that's an expression that I use because we will make sure that everything and everyone else is taken care of before our own needs come to fruition. I think that many of us actually can bury our own needs. I think that I've witnessed my 91, almost 92-year-old grandmother do it. She had zero health problems the entire time my grandfather was alive. My grandfather lived to be 87 years old. That woman didn't take a pill. That woman didn't have any EKG. Nothing. She was up and out and doing it all because all she wanted to do was care for others, care for him. And then after he passed, I think that all of those things that you bury and put aside surface. So it's not that your husband passed away last month and you're just lonely and don't want to be at home alone or anything like that. You're allowed to find joy, whether it's in a male companion, a female companion, a book at the library, ice cream. Everyone deserves joy and happiness. And if companionship brings you that, it's okay. And I think that your children would also agree. It's not like you're saying, hey, here's your new dad. Here's your new dad. He's coming to all the holidays now. In fact, I want you to call him Dad. No. And you don't have to bring them into any of it. That's another thing that I think is really important to acknowledge, that a lot of times relationships will form blended families. And I did it at some point in time, but that was with younger kids. As they're older, not everybody has to be involved in everything. You don't have to share families and family holidays and bring the whole gang together all the time. Like, you don't have to. You can selfishly enjoy that person's companionship all on your own. You don't have to share them with the rest of the family either. So I'm not saying you have to keep a secret, but I do think it's okay to find happiness for you. And whatever it is that brings you that happiness, as long as it's not moderately illegal or immoral, I hope you enjoy that person's companionship, and maybe they're enjoying it just as much as you are. And I love that for you, that you took the time to write that letter and share, but I hate that it's caused you so much stress and grief that you're contemplating at that level. Everyone deserves joy and everyone deserves happiness. And I hope that you continue to experience that with this person. All right. Next up. Now, this one right here, I could say I could relate in certain ways at certain points in my life. So let me just tell you the story, okay? Dear Jamie, 3 years ago, my husband and I took a cruise. On the second day, he met another couple at the pool and became instant friends with them. They exchanged numbers, and at first I thought nothing of it. By the end of the trip, though, the wife and he were texting constantly. Now, her husband also was part of the text, but eventually just faded out, as I can tell. And he swears the entire thing was innocent. 3 years later, though, the wife and my husband text every single day. Now, this woman lives over 1,000 miles away. They've seen each other in person that one time. My husband insists that they're just friends. The problem is, he laughs at her messages, shares things with her before he shares them with me, and recently I discovered she was the first person he texted when he got a promotion. Not me, her. How do I measure up? Why isn't it me? Why doesn't her husband care? Why do I care so much? Can an emotional affair exist even if they've only met once? Yeah. The thing is, though, it's probably innocent-ish, meaning that if she went back and read all of the messages, there's probably nothing about I love yous or connection like that. It probably is day-to-day things, but it still hurts. It still hurts that the person that is your partner, is your best friend in life, and shares day-to-day things with someone else. Like, I think it would be disheartening for any partner to realize that their most trusted confidant isn't their partner. I'm not talking about Lester, okay? I'm not talking about Lester. I think it's really, I think that you have to be able to say it. And it doesn't say in this letter if she said things to him of like, hey, this really bothers me or anything like that. But as your partner, if something I was doing bothered my partner, I would want them to tell me. Not in an angry way, not in an attacking way or accusatory way, but I would want them to say like, hey, your friendship really makes me uncomfortable. I feel like I'm the outsider and I don't understand it. Doesn't mean you go into it with ultimatums. It doesn't mean that you go into it with guns a-blazing or anything like that. It just means that you should be able to say those things. And when that person probably gets defensive and says, they're just a friend, I just talk about whatever, we share memes back and forth or whatever, it doesn't make it hurt less. It's quite possible that it hurts actually more, that it's not anything physical and that you aren't their best friend. So it's hard for me to say that it's an emotional affair because there's no context here that says that. It just says that it's innocent and they're just texting constantly. But I would think that if it made you uncomfortable, you would have to say so. And then from the other, like I try to think about all of these letters from each and every perspective. I would also want to know if it's both sided or one sided. So, like, does she, said other female on the other end, is she the one sending all the stuff and taking, invoking all the conversation and he's just responding and reactionary? Or is he the one doing it? Or is it mutual? And I hate to say it, but that does matter. How does her husband feel about it? If y'all have great phone numbers, maybe it's another piece of the conversation like, hey, does it bother you? And if he says, no, I'm on the golf course or whatever, it's none of your business about that side, but it's still, again, maybe she's not taking it as seriously as your husband is if he's the one that's like all giggly googly on the other side. I just think it's worthy of a conversation and to let your person know how you feel, because it's one thing to vent here and to share. And I know many other people have experienced similar situations. It just makes it hard because they're of the opposite sex. Because think about it this way. What if it was the man? What if he was texting the man and they had the same googly, giggly, phone dinging going off? Because that one I can relate to. That one I 1,000,000% can relate to, because there was a point in time where Daniel Arms, Jason Smith, and Sean from Keeping It Dutch, I swear to you, every day. And mostly it started with Daniel Arms and Jason. And it was like ding, 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 ding. And there's like all this giggling and going on. And like I'd be saying something and and Lester would be like, I'm sorry, what? It's 15 minutes later. I don't even know what I said 15 minutes ago, but he was buried in his phone. So like, I guess you got to think about it that way too. Like, what was it? It was the other man. How would you feel? Would you feel the same? Is it just because she's a female? And maybe it's worthy of a conversation with that female as well and saying, hey, after you've talked to your husband, like, hey, your relationship really makes me uncomfortable. And then I will say this, any real woman would say, oh my gosh, I had no intention. That's not what I meant. I'm so sorry, or if she gets super defensive, like that's another tell of the circumstance. I'm sorry. I can't stop laughing because of the Daniel Jason, because it's true. It's so true. I don't think that you realize there was a point in time at 6:30 in the morning, every morning, ding, 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 ding. And like the group text was just flying off the handle. And then Lester was like, put on his glasses. This is not part of the Dear Jamie podcast, by the way. We're going to have to cut this out. Okay. Next story. You're right, though. Neglecting your own relationship is not right either way. And investing in that in the same way that you would invest in that friendship is important to a relationship. Keeping it alive and putting the work into your partner is above everything. Okay. Dear Jamie, I never thought I would be jealous of my own sister, but here I am. My father is 78 years old and has dementia. It started with little things, forgotten appointments, repeated stories, misplaced keys. Now it has progressed to the point that he can no longer live alone. And for the last 2 years, I have been his primary caretaker. I handle the medications. I handle his doctor's appointments. I manage his bills. I make sure he eats. I am there nonstop, every single day, day in and day out. My sister Courtney lives less than 30 minutes away. She rarely visits. She doesn't help financially. She doesn't call to check in. She doesn't even show up when things get hard. But here's the part that's breaking my heart. My dad constantly mistakes me for her. Every day when I walk through the door, his face lights up and says, "Hey, Courtney, you came to see me." At first, I corrected him. "Dad, it's Samantha." A few minutes later, he'd forget and do it again. Now, his doctor tells me it may actually be kinder not to correct him. They say constantly reminding him of his mistakes can cause confusion and anxiety. So most days I smile and answer to my sister's name. And every time I do, a little piece of me hurts, because it feels like the daughter who never shows up is somehow getting all of the credit. I know that isn't rational. I know dementia is a disease. I know my father isn't choosing this. But after a lifetime of feeling like Courtney was the favorite, it's really hard to not feel invisible. I am the one cleaning up the messes. I am the one sacrificing my time. I am the one sitting beside his bedside when he gets admitted to the hospital. Yet the person he gets excited to see is her. Part of me wants to keep correcting him because I want him to know I'm here. And another part of me wonders if that's selfish. If he's happy believing I'm Courtney, shouldn't I let him have that comfort? So tell me, Jamie, do I continue correcting my father and risk upsetting him? Or do I swallow my pride, answer to my sister's name, and accept the recognition I've wanted my whole life may never come? That makes my heart hurt. Dementia is a horrible, evil disease and process. Part of me is like, I feel so sad for the dad because there's something in him that has known that it must be a rare thing for Courtney to come, and that he wants to see that in Samantha. And for Samantha, who is the one putting in the work, and I have never been a caretaker for a family member like that, and I applaud those who have done it. I can't imagine. I can't imagine when that's not even part of the circumstance, when it's just the care alone that you're struggling with, because that is hard. So hard. And then to be there day in and day out, and to be the one, knowing that your sister only lives 30 minutes away but can't spare the time or the energy. And I do know family members and family things like that, where one person steps up to handle it and everybody else just keeps on going with their life. There's animosity and emotion built up in that, it's in itself. Just the fact that you're there doing it, just the fact that you are living it, breathing it, can't get out of it, and that you feel alone in that scenario is enough. But then to be mistaken for the person who's not doing a thing is gut-wrenching. I don't know if I would correct my dad. Because if dad is that gone, and I say that gone because if it's happening multiple times in a setting, his heart is hurting for that circumstance and longs for it repeatedly. But I do think that I would probably have a conversation with my sister. Not to correct dad, but to fulfill dad's hope, his dream, his expectation, and for her to experience that. I'm curious to know if he would think that Courtney was Samantha or not. But I just think that correcting dad is going to break his heart every time too. And yours. And it's already breaking yours every single time, but to have to justify and say who you are, and to prove who you are, and to go through watching your dad's heartbreak, knowing that Courtney didn't in fact come to see him. I think it's just a smoother thing to ask your sister to step up. Hey, dad, not because dad needs the care, because She already knows that you'll do it. You are doing it. You're handling it. But because Dad needs her too. Dad is longing for her. Dad has so many days where he wants Courtney there. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think, and I don't know if that makes Courtney the favorite or the one that he's most concerned about. If you are the caretaker and you're the one who's handling all of the things, you're probably not so much on the worry list, to be honest. So is Courtney here is probably in somewhere in his peace of mind about checking on her just as much. I remember when Uncle Raleigh was at the end of his time. The things that he cared about and was concerned about were not the people that were right in front of him or the things that were right in front of him. There were things that he probably felt had slipped his mind because he hadn't seen them in a while and he was concerned about them. So that recall and that hope, I think, is subconscious. And I don't think that you should beat yourself up for the way that you feel, because you have every right to feel the way that you feel. But correcting Dad isn't a way to heal that part of your heart either, because he's going to do it tomorrow and the next day and the next day, it seems. But on the contrary, asking your sister to step up might help your own mind through all of this as well. That is a hard one, and I can't imagine it, and it makes me sad because I know that so many people experience very similar things. Dementia is a horrible progressive disease, and I applaud anyone that can handle the circumstances that surround it. Okay. Now this last one actually, it brought out quite a bit of emotion in me. Dear Jamie, I've spent years trying to make some sense of something that still keeps me awake at night. My ex-wife and I went through a very difficult divorce. Like most divorces, there was plenty of blame to go around. We fought over money, over parenting, over who was right and who was wrong, and it was pretty ugly. But that's not what broke me. My parents did. When the divorce started, I went to my family to tell them it was happening. I wasn't asking them to hate my ex-wife. I wasn't asking them to pick fights on my behalf. I simply was letting them know that this was the direction that my soon-to-be ex-wife and I were going. I assumed that my parents would stay neutral. However, they chose her. Not emotionally, not privately, financially. My own parents funded my future ex-wife's attorney. I was fighting to rebuild my life, and they were helping fund the case against me. To this day, I still struggle to even say those words out loud. I remember sitting here thinking, I had to be missing something. Surely there had to be some misunderstanding. Surely they would realize what they're actually doing. I have a son with this woman. And they were fighting for my son to not be with me. Keep in mind, our divorce didn't hold anything egregious. We just no longer got along. So every court filing, every hearing, every bill I had to pay, I knew part of the money being used against me was coming from the people who raised me. I can't adequately describe the feeling. It wasn't anger. It wasn't betrayal. A spouse breaking your heart is one thing. Your parents helping them do it is something entirely different. I've spent years wondering what I did wrong. Was I such a disappointment that my own parents believed I deserved that? Did they think I was a terrible husband? A terrible father? Did they simply love her more than they loved me? Nobody's ever given me the answer. Whenever I try to discuss it, the conversation gets brushed aside or rewritten as though it wasn't a big deal. But it was a big deal. It's changed how I saw my family forever. The hardest part is, I love my parents. They're older now. Life has moved on. The divorce is long over. But every holiday, every birthday, every family gathering, there's a part of me that remembers this. A part of me that wonders how a mother and father could watch their son struggle and choose to stand on the other side. How do you forgive someone who never acknowledged the hurt they caused? How do you stop wondering why your own parents didn't choose you? I'm gonna look at this from many sides, but the first place I'm gonna look at it from is a mother. A mother who has a son, who has a partner and a child. There is nothing in me, ever, and I love my son's partner like my child. There is nothing in me that could make me go against my own son. Nothing. That is like the ultimate betrayal, the ultimate hurt. That is like the most backwards piece of everything. Because I don't know what would motivate a mother, because that I am a mother, I'm not a father. I don't know what would motivate a mother to take away from their own child. And by take away, I don't mean money. I mean, that's a grandchild that's involved. What do you gain from that? Because it would be very hard to justify and say that it's for the grandchild. Because you just took your grandchild further away in my mind. And then from the son's perspective, there is a such thing called unconditional love, and even at worst, you can not like someone, but you still love them. But knowing that your parents went behind your back to fund a divorce and lawyers against you, like, to me, that is gut-wrenchingly disheartening, disappointing. I don't even think forgivable. And I say that from a place of, I don't know what he did or she did, but it's irrelevant to me, with the exception of he was some sort of pedophile abuse, like all of those things, which I can't imagine he is, because he talks about seeing their son and, all of that is fine. So assuming that there's nothing illegal or immoral that was happening, just a regular divorce, how? And I see people saying, Jamie, what if Kendra threatened you to never see Kinley again? We live in a world where both parties have rights to be parents unless there's something immoral, illegal, or egregious in those scenarios. And even in those scenarios, there are legal mechanisms to be able to serve justice in that way. But paying for someone's attorney to divorce your own child is just I couldn't. Obviously, I have a million questions for the person, the man here. But it's one thing to tell the truth of a circumstance that's in it. So if there was something going on as I'll call it the grandmother, if it's the grandmother or the mother or father, it's one thing to tell the truth in scenarios if asked the questions and brought in, but it is a whole other thing to fund the case against you. I just feel like it's sad. I feel like, I'm a divorced woman. If my mother would have went to my ex and says, "I'm going to pay for the attorney, you divorce her," I think that would be so weird. I think that would be the ultimate, like, what? Who? It's not that you have to pick a side, because you don't. But I still don't think that funding the divorce doesn't give you any rights as grandparents. It doesn't, you're not the one getting a divorce. You're not the one that is involved in that from a legal standpoint or anything. And I'm sad. I'm sad for the person who wrote this letter because it's been years and it's still on their heart and it still hurt. It hurt deep. And how on earth could you forgive that? How on earth could you go to family events and not feel that one time that your mother chose someone else over you? I'm sad for this person. I'm sad that it's not just breaking your heart one time, it's over and over. And even if you tried to bring it up, I'm sure that there's no explanation that would be worthy of justification around it. I don't know. I just feel like there's nothing in my heart that could do something against my son like that. That if my son did something so egregious that the law wouldn't already take care of. But a lifetime of hurt certainly could stem from this. And it's warranted. And let me be clear, your feelings, whether you're hurt, you're angry, you're happy, all of the things, no matter what each of you experience, we all have the right to feel the way that we feel. No one can tell us how we're supposed to feel about scenarios, including me. I can't say you should be hurt by that or you shouldn't be hurt by that. Everybody has a right to the way that they feel. It's very natural. I hope that someday, as a son, that this man can find a way to sit down and communicate how much that hurt, how much it still hurts. And while those parents can't take it back, I think that it's still okay to say how much it hurt. If my own mother did that to me, I would be the one to tell her, "I'm sorry. I can't hear you about XYZ because all I keep thinking about is the time you did this because it hurt me." My mom didn't do that, for the record. I hope that we get to know more about some of these stories. I always hope that we get follow-ups and to dive deeper, but just take one thing away from all of this, that from all of these stories, you have every right to feel the feelings you feel. Whether it's joy about a new companionship, whether it's heartbreak because you're watching your spouse have so much fun in the simplest of things that you're excluded from, whether it's hurt from your family choosing someone over you that isn't blood. You have every right to feel those things. Doesn't mean you live in it, doesn't mean you dwell on it, doesn't mean that you stay with it, but you're allowed to feel. Thank y'all for joining the Dear Jamie podcast and our Scandalous Saturday. I love y'all so very much, and I will catch you on the next one.
Dear Jamie, speak your mind. Here we leave no secrets behind. Lay it bare, you're not alone. In this circle, you're at home. So write it down or say it loud. There's no shame in truth unbound. Laugh or cry, just let it fly. We'll catch your tears, we'll lift you high. So speak your truth, don't be shy. We're all the same beneath the sky. Dear Jamie listens, no need to hide. Where stories live and hearts confide. Dear Jamie, let it show. You're